Is it that bad? Is it that bad that West Ham have missed out on another young talent? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the West Ham Network. I'm Anton, bringing to you just a little bit of an opinion piece, really, and it's all about West Ham missing out on another young, bright talent, a talent that we've been searching and keeping a really strong, keen interest in over the January transfer window. The player that I am talking about is Ibrahim Osman. We're hearing reports that Brighton have signed an agreement to bring him over from Denmark and Nordsjælland for a fee of around £17 million. He will sign that contract and join them in the summer of this summer coming. And West Ham have missed out on another bright potential talent. Is it all bad? Is it that bad? And you'll probably see from the thumbnail who remembers Carlos Borges. Maybe it's not as bad as we think. Maybe it's written in the stars. Maybe there's a reason why West Ham didn't sign the player. You know what? I'm not taking anything away whatsoever from ITKs. I'm absolutely not. In the nose. No problem with them at all whatsoever. We're not one. I categorically say that from the start. We are not an in the know. As per probably most social media channels, you get fed information, but this is not about me being fed information. I'm just trying to build the picture up to you about what it's like when you run the channel and what information is brought to you. Now, we were led to believe that West Ham were strongly interested in bringing Carlos Borges at the time of Manchester City to West Ham. We didn't get the deal done, and Ajax came in, took the player from Manchester City on a permanent deal, got the deal done, signed him from under West Ham's noses. Now, at the time, we didn't know that we had the long-term plan of taking their player, Mohamed Kudus, from them and bringing him to West Ham. I think if you'd have known the long game, you may have looked at that situation maybe a little bit differently at the time. But it kind of just got me thinking about players that we've had in the past that we've been linked to and we've not brought on or brought in, and looked at them in the past and thought, have they really worked out? Now, this is something we could talk about in the future. We sometimes talk about it actually on the show, but I just thought about Carlos Borges. Since joining Ajax, he's played 17 games for them in the Dutch league, scoring 1 goal with 3 assists. He's not setting the world alight for them, but it doesn't mean that he's not a good player. It just means that maybe he did not suit what West Ham were looking for. And it's the same possibly with Ibrahim Osman. The deal's not finalized, but it's looking like it's done. And he could go to Brighton and he could be a wonderful player. And we look back and we think, oh, why did we not sign that player? But I think some of the reaction is not necessary for a player we know absolutely nothing about from a team that we were going to be having to pay quite a lot of money for. Now, don't get me wrong. I was behind the deal if West Ham could have made this work. I was behind the deal. I was even behind West Ham paying the money that Brighton looked like they're going to pay to bring him in. Because I feel like if you do your due diligence, if you are reputable scouts and you recommend a player, then so be it. You take the risk and that's what you've got to do. And that's going back to the kind of ITK information. We're led to believe that there's a connection to David Sullivan who's potentially warned him against getting the deal done. The point I'm trying to make is we will never know. We'll never know unless you categorically hear it from the horse's mouth. We will never know with those circumstances. We'll never really know the real reasons unless someone comes out and says it, why we didn't sign Ibrahim Osman and why Brighton are looking like they're going to come in and take the player off West Ham's hands. But have they taken him off West Ham's hands? Or have West Ham just thought, do you know what? We don't want this player anymore. There's more hassle than it's worth. We're not going to pay over the odds for a player that we think is a bit of a risk. And do you know what? There's part of me that respects it to a certain extent, but there's also a part of me that goes, but if you want that player, then go and get him. Players do and can be successful coming from teams from different divisions who are maybe a lower standard because they've got a little bit of something about them. Players can be very, very good and can transition to teams like West Ham. We have it on good authority that bringing Ibrahim Osman into West Ham wasn't going to be a starting position. We have it on good authority that he wasn't going to be a regular first teamer. We have it on good authority he was going to be a squad player utilized where necessary. Therefore, if that is true, then it may have been the main decision why West Ham didn't push through with the deal. Listen, as much as what I'm about to say sounds a bit crazy to some people, Tim Steidten is at West Ham. He's bringing his brother in. We're doing this situation. I have the faith in whatever Tim at the wheel is doing. Whilst Tim's at the wheel, I have confidence that something is brewing, whether that is with or without David Moyes, whether that is with or without Kevin Nolan, whether that is with or without Paqueta. But whatever is brewing, whilst Tim Steidten is here at the club, I genuinely believe we're on the right path. Not from top, not from ownership. Remove that. It's for another day, for another subject. But whilst Tim is there, then I have faith. But I'll tell you something now. If we get to the summer and Tim goes, then any form of faith I have in what we're trying to do at this club will be diminished, will be gone. But for right now, I am putting a bit of faith into that situation. I'm putting trust into the situation that they didn't fancy Osman for the price he was being quoted at. Let's not pay over the odds for a player that's not got the experience or can prove that you can do it at that level. Yes, there's a risk element. However, West Ham have always been a club in recent years that have taken risks on players and it's not worked out, and we've sold them for less than we bought them for very quickly after buying them, and then criticized extremely heavily from the West Ham fans for not making a success of them. Sebastian Haller, Felipe Anderson, Vlasic, just to name a few players. Imagine we pay £17 million for Osman and it doesn't work out. Imagine you pay £17 million for Carlos Borges and it doesn't work out. Criticised beyond belief. West Ham are looking for those little nuggets, those little quality players, those diamonds in the rough, those real talented kids that can come through the ranks and change the average age of the West Ham squad and do a job. I might sound really optimistic. Part of me is and part of me is not. I'm wary. I'm scared of what change can be. I'm open to change at West Ham. Whilst the guys at the top, I'm always concerned no matter who comes into this club. But for now, the one man that keeps me connected, that keeps me focused, is Big Timmy Steidten. So is it that bad? Is it that bad that West Ham missed out on another talent? You let me know by putting it in the comments below. Take it easy and join Russie B later on for a cheeky West Ham Daily. Come on, you Irons.